The revolution will be live.
Well, in the last few days, we've heard Rudy Giuliani's President Trump's story. Sarah Sanders has her own version. But it looks like we still don't know the true story when it comes to the hush money payment between President Trump's personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, and Stormy Daniels. Now, the latest false claim is about the president's reimbursement of Cohen. There are really so many claims that are false or misleading statements and just downright lies, it's hard to keep track. But we are. Remember this from January. According to the fact-checker blog of the Washington Post, President Trump has made 1,950 false and misleading statements since January 20th, 2017, Inauguration Day. Think of that, 1,950. That's an average of more than 5 a day. At this pace, he'll hit 2,000 in his first full year in office. Now, that's stunning, but also hard to grasp. So I thought, how do I make something conceptual like a false statement concrete, tangible? And then I remembered that game I hated as a kid, the jar of gumballs. 1,950. Stand by. Two jars. Have we reached it yet? 1,950? Not yet. Watch. And move it over here. 3. Are we there yet? Stand by. When I was a kid, I never knew how many gumballs were in those jars, but in these 4, 1,950. And yes, friends, the sweet, colorful bites of false claims, misleading statements, and flat-out lies are back. We wanted, after so many bunk statements, to show you what this president's commitment to the truth looks like. Now, the last time we checked in, it filled these 4 big glass jars. Remember, 1,950? Well, after the last 24 hours, we decided to show you what this administration's commitment to accuracy looks like today. How many jars has this administration filled? Let's take a look. We've got a 5th jar. And I don't know if the shot is wide enough. We are on our way to filling a 6th because according to the Washington Post, their fact-checker blog, the president has now made 3,001 false claims since taking the oath of office through May 1st. That's an additional 1,051 false claims in 120 days. He's now averaging more than 6 lies a day. Think of that. That's more than some people wash their hands in a day. 1 every 4 hours on average. That's 2 before most folk get to work in the morning. Timely enough, this is what the president had to say just yesterday about the spread of misinformation.
It's actually very simple. It's actually very simple. But there has been a lot of misinformation, really, people wanting to say, and I say, you know what? Learn before you speak. It's a lot easier.
Learn before you speak. Joining me now to talk about this, Maria Cardona, CNN political commentator and Democratic strategist, and Jack Kingston, CNN political commentator and former senior advisor to the Trump campaign. Welcome back to both of you. Jack, I'm starting with you.
I figured you would.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I am. 3,001 false statements, misleading claims, and downright lies in this administration so far. Are you proud of that?
Not proud of it. I certainly will concede the point that there have been a lot of misstatements coming out of the White House, but not unique to this presidency. I just posted 4 pages of Obama lies before that. Bush, there were even signs that said Bush lies. I think Clinton probably still holds the lifetime record, and I think the American people understand that they're not going to find a lot of font. They're not going to look at Washington, D.C. as the font of truth, whether it's from Congress or from the White House, unfortunately.
Maria?
You know, when you have to go back to your predecessors and point to whatever you think it is that they did, you know that you're losing the argument. Yes, people don't inherently trust politicians. Yes, Clinton lied and Democrats were outraged when it happened. But for the President of the United States to have documented 3,001 lies since the moment that he took office, which was 15 months ago, is an astounding record that no American should be proud of. And it points to why he has a record low approval rating. It points to why in a poll this past week, the majority of Americans believe that this White House is in complete chaos. This is the pants on fire president that is presiding over a dumpster fire administration. It is bad for democracy. It is bad for the country. It is bad for America's image overseas. And I think going into the midterm elections, congressional Republicans are scared, as they should be, because Americans are going to make sure that their voice is heard, that this is not acceptable.
Jack, the news of the day, the New York Times reporting that President Trump knew of the payment to Stormy Daniels through his attorney, Michael Cohen, months before he denied knowing anything about it. This president just casually, according to the New York Times reporting, lied to the American people about what he knew. How does he then try to come up with a story that the American people should believe from this point on this, or anything for that matter?
Well, Victor, for one thing, let me just say, remember the source. New York Times has not exactly gone out of its way to be accurate on President Trump.
Well, okay, so hold on. Let's take the New York Times. Let's take the New York Times out of the equation, if that's what you're going to use.
Yes.
The president said let me finish this question. The president said on Air Force One he knew nothing about the payment to Stormy Daniels, did not know where Michael Cohen got the money, and then tweeted out this week this lawyered up statement about having reimbursed him through these retainer payments, $35,000 a month. We can take the New York Times out of it. The president did indeed tell something to the American people that was not true by using just his own statements.
Well, Victor, one time when I was in Congress, I had an electrician doing work for me at my house. We had a dispute over his work, and he said, well, you know what, I don't care if I'm right or wrong. I'm going to go public with it, and it's going to embarrass you as a congressman. I know that public figures, office holders and celebrities, as Donald Trump was before he became a politician, often get this kind of soft blackmail from people. Clearly, that's what Stormy Daniels was doing. That's why they had to do the NDA to begin with. But you have, in Michael Cohen's words, a fixer who would pay a retainer. You pay him a monthly retainer, and he makes problems go away. I think you don't necessarily know where all that retainer goes, but you know that Michael Cohen is solving problems for you.
Jack, hold on. Wait a minute, Jack.
Poor Jack.
I hate for this to be one-sided here, but Jack, the president himself said that he knew nothing about the money, and then he tweeted out that, yeah, I did reimburse him through these payments, through this retainer. You're talking about the allegation. We can sit the allegation aside for this question. It is about the payment and the disclosure of that.
But, Victor, what I'm saying is if I'm paying my property manager income, and if rental properties, if I'm paying my property manager a monthly fee, he is dispersing that in a way that's appropriate to the management of that properties to make issues go away, and that's what he was doing with Michael Cohen. And so I think under the $35,000 a month that he routinely paid, I don't know that he knew where everything went. Maybe he did, maybe he did not, as we will probably find out.
Yeah, there's a difference. I mean, I've been a landlord and had a property manager. One, I didn't pay him $35,000 a month for a year, as Giuliani said that he did.
Right.
But also, these are very different scenarios. I need to get Maria back into this conversation.
Thank you. I don't think, Jack, that you would be paying your property manager to pay off porn stars. At least I don't think you would be doing that. Let's be very clear here. The majority of the American people believe that Donald Trump, of course, knew about this payment. The majority of the American people, of course, believe that he slept with the porn star. That's not the issue. Clearly, they knew they were not getting a saint. Clearly, they knew they were getting somebody who had lived his life in a sleazy manner and that he was not going to stop doing that. They didn't care. He showed us who he was throughout the 90s. He showed us who he was in the Access Hollywood tape. That hasn't changed. What clearly also hasn't changed is that he continues to lie to the American people. So all of his supporters, all of his evangelicals should really take another look at who they have elected as president of the United States, because I believe the American people as a whole, writ large, who did not vote for him now truly understand that their vote really does count, and that the president of the United States should not just be somebody that they can trust, but that they need to uphold American values, and this president does not do that.
Let me put up some numbers here. This from the Washington Post fact checker blog. Some of the days with the most the highest number of false claims and lies, 53 on a single day. July 25th, 2017, 49 on November 29th of 2017, and recently 44 on April 28th, tied with December 8th for the third there with the most numbers of false or misleading claims. Jack, let me come to you as we wrap up here, and I want you to hear from a conservative who supports the president, pointing out the lack of clarity in the president's words. Here's Fox News host Neil Cavuto this week.
Let me be clear, Mr. President. How can you drain the swamp if you're the one who keeps muddying the waters? You didn't know about that $130,000 payment to a porn star until you did. Said you knew nothing about how your former lawyer, Michael Cohen, handled this until acknowledging today you were the guy behind the retainer payment that took care of this.
So what's this mean to the president's base, to the party?
You know, I want to just quote what Maria said. I don't think they care to the degree that a lot of this is seen as kind of inside baseball politics. What they do care about is the record unemployment rate, that he's a very pro-life president, that he's tough on the border, he's been tough on national security, he's negotiating with North Korea, and I think that when they
so essentially this is the Pruitt argument, that if you're doing the job I want you to do, that I really don't care about your ethics.
You know, I think over the years, over the last several decades, that's been the state. People are not looking at Washington for moral purity. They're looking for results. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, by the way. I'm just saying that's the way it is, because I was outraged.
But why can't you say it's right or wrong?
You're kind of actually saying that it's acceptable.
Okay. No.
You're saying it's acceptable.
I'm saying that the American people made a decision that it was acceptable to them. They knew that they were
not the majority of the American people.
Well, you know, he won. He broke the blue wall, Maria. Let's agree to that.
Not the majority of the American people.
All right,
and you know what, Victor?
You do agree that the economy's doing good and people are working.
Just really quickly, when you have Fox News telling the president, Mr. President, this is your swamp, this is your stink, it's a tipping point.
All right,
Fox News.
Maria Cardona, Jack Kingston, thank you both. And I also just want you to get one more look here. Each one of these is one of the misleading statements, false claims, or just downright lies from the President of the United States. And we are only 15, 16 months into this administration. We'll continue to count the president's false claims and show them to you. Because although Jack Kingston says most people have not determined that whether it's right or wrong, you should at least see what your president is telling you. Christy?
The revolution will be live.